Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of our Formula GP Let's Play on the channel. We are doing the Monza GP, forehanding it. I'm not playing with any bots. I'm just basically doing what the players would probably do, just to give you some interaction between players as opposed to the bots, which take different lines. It's just a whole different gameplay style, but I thought this is what I'd like to show in this series. Now, just another reminder is we are playing with the advanced rules, which are also called the full simulation. That's the way the game was intended to be played, but there's also a sprint mode that you can play if you want simpler rules. So as opposed to episode 1, I moved the steering wheels for the other cars up here. Normally you wouldn't have these if you're using bots, but because I'm forehanding, I'm using them. It just made a lot of clutter at the bottom of the table. We are playing from Williams' perspective, so I kept their steering wheel and cards down here. Now, before we get started, I just want to look at a few little corrections. So during the last game, I made a couple moves, one specifically up here and one over here, where I made a pass where the car went around during an overtake and then cut back in front. Well, you're not allowed to do that, and I completely forgot, so my bad on that one. So technically, when you go around another car, so let's say here Ferrari wants to go around me, well, they have to basically go here, charge their overtake points, and then they have to complete the overtake on the same line. What I did is I went here and then I cut back in front to sort of block, and that's not allowed by the game. I did that on Mercedes's move on McLaren and our move on Ferrari, so that is illegal. In this case, the developers decided that it would be probably best if I allowed Ferrari to pass by without a battle, so that I agree with that, and that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to start by moving the round counter to 6. Starting this turn, we always get 4 cards when we start, and our hand is currently a tire wear, green pace, and an option yellow pace. So that allows us to play green or red as a pace. Now, the reason I only have 4 cards and not going to draw is because we used our ERS twice last turn in order to get to where we are now. So I now don't have extra LEDs, which means I can't draw extra cards, and I'm just going to have the base of 4, which means I'm not going to draw. So I'm going to go and do the draws for the other cars, and then we're going to get started with the movement. All right, so looking at what our options are, we have a green, so this is the treacherous turn 1 at Monza, so we have a green pace limit, which means anything higher than that, and we're going to get to roll a red die, which is not great. Now, I have some mitigation to that. I have Lucky Guy, which allows me to spend an ERS to discard a risk card from my hand if ever I were to get one, but I don't have any ERS points, so I need to start focusing on charging this battery back up. So I think that I'm going to play green, since in an 8th gear, we get 5 if we're red, 4 if we're green. So blue is the only thing that's going to make much of a difference. So in this case, I think I'm just going to play a green, and that's going to be the best thing, because even if I play the red here card, it doesn't apply for my option card because this is a yellow, so I won't get that bonus. So green pace seems to be the best. So I'm going to go with 4 plus 4, that's 8. Now I'm going to go to the inside, so that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that's going to end me on an 8th gear corner spot, which is what I like. I'm not going to use a tire wear to go forward. I technically could, but in this case, it would put me on a straightaway, and I just feel like this is the right place to be. Now, Ferrari's going to pass me either way with a battle, but I just don't want to use my tires that much, because the more I use them, the less I'll have for later. So I'll play it when I need to later on. And the reason I chose to go inside is because with a green pace, you can change without getting tire wear. And if I had stayed outside, I would have had a lot more spaces to go through, which means I would have wasted a lot of my movement. I'm going to now see what the other cars do and come back. All right, so it looks like Ferrari passed us, unfortunately. Now, normally there would have been a battle here, but there wasn't in this case because I said that I would let them by due to the error that I made in the last episode. So in this case, what they did is, because Ferrari has such good movement with red pace in 8th gear, that combined with their soft tires allowed them to move 11, and the bonus point, because if you look at their board, they got a 6 plus 4, but they get a bonus when they're in a DRS zone of 1 movement point, which they were over here. So what happens now is that they were able to go through. Now, they decided to use this line. They could have definitely moved better on another line, but since I was blocking the middle, they elected to stay there because that would have just used tire wear points for no reason moving around due to the yellow option card being used to get their red pace. And at the end, they ended up right next to me, and just to get that little bit of edge, since they would have spent tire wear points moving around anyways, they spent 1 tire wear point to clear their hand and move up 1 space ahead of me onto an 8th gear spot. So that was a pretty good move. Now, one thing that I forgot is that Ferrari used the red pace to get through this corner, which means that they went over the speed limit of green. So they had to roll a red die, they rolled a risk, and had to draw this card, gravel on track. So one of the cars went through the gravel, bringing dirt on the track. Watch out, place gravel token on the current track tile, make your next move without tire bonus. So Ferrari must have went off track here on the side, spit up some of the gravel. They added now this to the tiles. Now, the bad part for them is they don't get their tire bonus next turn, so that means they're not going to get their +4 from their soft tire compound, and that's going to be huge for us. It's also worth noting that moving through a special effect tile like this doesn't do anything. It's landing on it and starting from it that makes a difference. So not only can they not use their tire bonus next turn, but they also can't play any combos. Say decided to take the safe option. They went through at a green pace and then used a tire wear card after they landed here to move forward 1. They ended up here and then used a black tire wear card to end up here and an ERS point to end up here right behind us. Now, McLaren went all out because they know they have to catch up. I mean, they were back here. They were still able to get down here on the straight. Now, the downside is because this was a red speed limit, they're going to have to roll the red die. So let's do that. And they get a tire wear. So given that they have the hard tire compound, that's not a bad thing. So now that all the movements are done, let's go to the next game round. And we're going to go to round 7. And we're going to see what we can draw here. So now our battery is still empty. So we only get 4 cards. We already have 2 tire wear cards cluttering our hand and this option card. So we get to draw 1, and it is a green pace card. So now I'm going to draw for the rest of the cars, and then we'll see where we end up. All right, so now Ferrari made their move, and what they did is they ended up using another yellow option card to use a red pace, which means that they respected the speed limit, but because they didn't have their tire bonus, they were only able to go so far. So what happened is that they ended up over here. Now, if they had continued in the lane that they were in, which was this one, they would have had a lot less movement, and they would have ended up here, and they had to somehow block us, because if you leave the door open, like example, if they would have been here, that leaves the door open for me to come in here and then pass them without a battle. So instead, they decided to do a lane change early, which did cost them 1 tire wear point. They changed lanes before entering the corner down here and ended up here. So it does leave the door open for us to get in behind them, but at least they can still block us from passing, and we would have to battle them in order to do so. So now, looking at our turn, we probably don't want to use a blue pace because there is a red corner here, but I think if we can find some red, that would be good. And we do, because we do have this option card. So the only downside is that we're not going to be able to change lanes without a tire wear. I really want to try to conserve that, but we'll see what we can do. So let's play this, and we're going to go with a red pace in 8th gear. That's 5 points plus our 4 tire bonus, and that's 9. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now here's the great part. When you get into the slipstream spot, you get 2 extra overtake points if you can use them. So in our case, we do have some leftover points. We have 9 movement. We used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which means we have 7, 8, 9, which means we can fully charge up our overtake anyways, since Williams doesn't have that much, by 2. So now we can go for the pass. And it's worth mentioning that when you are in a slipstream spot, you see these arrows here, that means you are allowed to pull out, because normally I would have to be back here to attack, but because this slipstream spot allows for that, this is the only way that you can get on the same tile without doing a battle and then do a move to the side while passing. The only thing I'm not going to do is pull back in front, because I realize now that I'm not allowed to do that. But I know that we only have 1 card here And this is our green card for the battle. So that's 1 LED plus the one from our overtake, that's 2. We can't use any from our battery, so this is really bad. Mind you, I do have this superb attack card, or I could play both these cards in combination to add myself an LED. But if I do spend 1 overtake, I'm going to add 3 LEDs in the battle. Now, because position is so important at this point in the race, I think that I'm going to take this card and I'm going to spend the overtake to add 3 LEDs to the battle. So in this case, what they can see from their side is that I only have 1 card. So they're going to be confident and they're going to play 2 cards. Now, when I do reveal this and this, then they're going to know they're toast, because if you played the cards that they do have, they had 2 LEDs for this card and another 2 LEDs by playing this blue card in combination. That was 4. They felt confident that they could at least match my score if I only had 1 card, but because I played this card here, I was able to take them by surprise, and now I get to use my 2 overtake points to go around them. So in this case, I believe that it doesn't matter that my overtake was maxed out at 2. I had 4 total points charged up. I just couldn't use more than 2 on track, but that means that I was able to use my event card with 1 of those extra points. Now, the 3rd point is still wasted because the only way to go beyond actual 2 movement would be to use this. But in this case, because the track position wouldn't change, I'm going to leave it to the way it is because this is exactly where I wanted to be. Now, Mercedes was pretty bold through here. So they played a red card, which essentially put them through this corner okay. They got over here and they had enough excess points to charge up their overtake by 4 when they got to this spot here behind the Ferrari. Now, what they were able to do is initiate a pass. They had a battle card and Ferrari did not respond because they knew that we were in front of the Mercedes and the Mercedes could not actually pass them. So the best the Mercedes could do is get alongside the Ferrari for a wheel-to-wheel battle next turn. That's good for us because the more time they spend battling each other, the better it is. But really all they sacrificed by doing that was a tire wear point. So it was a good move for Mercedes. Ferrari, though, is pretty confident being on the inside and having priority next turn that they'll be able to stay ahead. And to finish off the turn, McLaren was able to move through here at the red pace since they used double green cards. That basically mitigates them from having to use the red die, but they still had to roll a yellow and got a tire wear. But that's okay for them because the hard tires are so resilient that they have a lot before they will lose their tire bonus. So that gets them over here. In an 8th gear corner, they're still very far behind everybody, but at least since there's not that many spaces in this next sector, it could allow them to catch up a little bit. Now we're going to move the turn to round 8. All right, so we still don't have any battery charge just because we've been spending our points on movement instead of charging. So I'm going to draw 2 more cards. That's going to give us a blue and a green. Let's see what we can do with that. But first, I'm going to draw all the other cards for the other teams. Okay, so now that everybody's drawn their cards, we have to look here at where we're going through this next section here, and there's a green speed limit coming up. So we have to try to get through this sector and past this corner, hopefully, because I don't want to sit in this DRS zone where someone can catch us just by getting into our slipstream. Now, as much as I'd love to play a blue card to really blast through here, our lane is going to end, which means I can't do that. So what I'm going to do is play a single green card. That's going to get us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, unfortunately, it's not enough to get us into the corner. I wish I could have, but we don't have anything else that we can use. Even our ability here is to drive -2 MP to ignore limits. So in this case, blue would have been useless as well because of the battery and we couldn't change lanes. So this is the best we could do with what we have. We just have to get this battery charged at some point so that we can start getting more cards in our hand. So unfortunately, based on where they were, Ferrari was able to gain enough momentum and use an ERS point to get enough movements to charge their overtake twice to start a battle with us. And I hate that because we have no cards in our hand. You can't play a blue card by itself. It has to be played with a green or a red. And I don't really want to use our white parameter token because we can't replace these with that token. So this puts us in a really bad spot. We have no cards to defend. The only thing I know is that we have +1 LED from here, but when you don't have battle cards, you can't battle anyway. So unfortunately, we're in a bad spot and I'm going to have to just let them by. They already committed 2 cards and I'm just going to say, no, we're not battling. So in this case, unfortunately, Ferrari's going to go 1, 2. They're going to start from 4th gear in a green corner with no combo. So that's not terrible for us, but it's just not looking great because of the fact that they were able to overtake us, and now they're going to go first next turn. Now, Mercedes was not on a great line to begin with, and they didn't have any green pace cards, which means that anything they would play, they would have to use tire wear to change lanes. So they ended up playing an option card using the red pace, but they were smart because they were running out of lane. And instead of switching lanes with tire wear, they decided to use the ERS charging feature to slow themselves down by 1 point, charging their ERS. So now they can draw 2 extra cards next turn. Now, McLaren surprisingly did really well here. So they were able to use double green to go through here without any penalty. And you still use the red pace. They were able to get up to the corner here and then use an extra tire wear card, since their hard compound has great degradation, to get up ahead here and into a 8th gear tile. The only downside is they have to roll the yellow die. So we'll see that for the combo. And it's a stress, which is not horrible since they had no stress to begin with. Now that that's all done, we're moving on to round 9. Still no battery, so not a great position to be in, but we're going to have a draw. So we're going to get a draw event that we can use. So that's not too bad, but I would rather like some movement cards. We may have to use our white parameter token, but I'm going to draw for the others, and we'll see because Ferrari goes first anyways. Now, Ferrari moved through the corner here, and they only had a red card to play. So they ended up rolling the red die, got a tire wear, and then another tire wear for changing lanes. So they are chewing up tires. Their tires are basically down to here, so 1 more tire wear point and they are going to be without their bonus, so they may have to pit soon depending. And it's kind of a good opportunity because they are close to the pits, and they have to pit once at least during the race. Now, that leaves the door open for us though. So the unfortunate part is they charged their ERS twice and brought themselves back 2 tiles because they knew if they were here, we'd be able to maneuver around them having enough movement. By putting themselves here or here, they're blocking us from passing them. And whether we're here or there, I guess they feel like they can defend. Now, starting our turn, we're going to go with a draw event, and we're going to see what we're going to get here. And this is oh good, this is a temperature card. I like that card. So what it is because it doesn't have the hourglass symbol here, you have to play it right away, and your tires have reached their optimal temperature and are working perfectly. Decreased tire wear -1. Well, that's good for longevity. I'm liking that because that means we're not going to have to pit this lap. Now, the really unfortunate part here is that we only have a blue card, and that means that we'd be forced to use ERS. We can't do that, nor can we change lanes. We'd come up right behind Ferrari. So what I'm going to do instead, since we don't have battery and we can't legally play, I'm going to play a tire wear card. Now, I don't get to use it for any bonus movement. I'm in a straightaway, so technically it would be illegal to use this, but in this situation, I'm allowed because I'm essentially just clearing my hand. So that event card we got gave us that ability. We're going to draw and see if we can play. Yes, it is a green card, so we are forced to play this no matter what, because that's just so that you don't get stuck. In this case, we're in an 8th gear tile, so that's 4 + 4 is 8. So we're going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the question is, do we go for the overtake? No, we don't, because in this case, we don't have the cards to play for an overtake. Now, I could use the white parameter token, but given that I know Ferrari is really bad with their tires, they may pit this turn. I'm just going to bide my time, and I'm going to spend this extra points to charge my batteries. In this case, we started here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8 means that we can charge our battery by 1, 2, 3 points and end up right behind Ferrari. This is actually really, really good for us. Okay, so Mercedes drew a yellow flag. Slow down and drive carefully. Roll the white die. Place the yellow flag token that number of track tiles ahead of the current track tile. Place the green flag token on the 4th track tile after the yellow flag, and remove this card from the deck. So we're going to start by rolling the white die for Mercedes. So let's see where it ends up. So that is actually 0. So given that the yellow flag has to be placed that number of track tiles ahead, it becomes 1 because there is actually no 1 on this die. It just goes from 0 to 2. So we're going to put it 1 track tile ahead of them. And then we count 4 track tiles for the green flag. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's really good for us because it means this yellow flag sector will not affect us for our next turn moving forward, but it could be really bad for McLaren and Mercedes. Okay, so in a turn of events, Mercedes actually was able to get through the yellow flag zone at the green pace, since that's the card that they were going to play anyways to get through this corner, which means that they don't have to stop at the green flag. They can just keep going right through. What that allowed is it allowed them to get here, and then with extending with a tire wear card, they got to this point, and now they were able to charge their overtake by 2 because of the slipstream spot. So they're actually going to attempt an attack on us, and they've declared 2 cards. The problem is that we can't defend because we don't have any battle cards, and this has been a problem for us, so hopefully it's not going to be for the rest of the game. I could use the white parameter token, but I feel like it's still too early to use that with pit stops still to come. So we're just going to choose not to defend, because at the end of the day, it's going to put Ferrari in a bad spot too, since they'll be able to overtake Ferrari without being able to defend, because when you overtake one car, you can overtake any other cars after that as surprise overtakes. So in this case, since I'm not defending, we'll see what they would have played anyways. So they would have had a really good 4 plus 2 LEDs plus their one from their overtake, so that was huge on their part. So they're going to basically be able to overtake now without any issues. They're going to go 1, pulling out because, again, that's legal only because of this slipstream spot, and then 2 moving forward up to here. Here's something I want to show you that's really cool with McLaren. So they didn't bother playing a red pace with, playing 2 green cars or anything like that, because they only got 1 point more. So they were able to move 7 thanks to their 4 in 8th gear, plus their hard tire pound count, and their +1 from the battery being empty. The cool part is because they ended up here, they are 1, 2, 3 spaces behind us. That allows them to play this card, which is their slipstream card. When you finish your move 3 or fewer spaces behind any rival, move your car to 1 track tile behind their car. Now, if we read this objectively, it is a track tile, so we can't put it here because the track tile ends right here. But that does mean that they get to finish right here. Now, 6th gear is not the best corner for them as far as pace. 4th gear is better, but at least it's 2 more movements ahead, which is a huge bonus for them. So I think it was definitely worth it. Now that that's all over, we're going to move over to round 10, and that's going to be our final round for this episode. So starting our new turn, we're going to draw our cards. Our battery is now fully charged because of our awesome last move. So we're going to draw 4 cards, since we can have a maximum of 6. And oh yeah, that's a pretty good suite of cards. I like that. Lots of options. And we have that tire wear, which again, as I always said, is not necessarily a bad thing. I'm going to draw for the rest of the teams, and then we'll see where we are after that. All right, now I don't normally show AI car movements, but in this case, I just wanted to show you something. So given that they made this move last round, it's a huge advantage for Mercedes because they have only 1 tire wear point left. Once they hit this spot, then this token gets flipped over, and now they don't get the full use out of their tires. So they basically, it's in their best interest to stop as soon as possible. So by having made that move and then playing a red card from their hand, which I just played, they're actually going to get 6, 7, 8, 9 movements. So what that does is it allows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that gets them into the pits. Now, Ferrari is in a similar situation. They have only 1 tire wear point left before they have to flip their +4 bonus to actually +0. So it's even worse than the medium tires. So they're going to respond to Mercedes by saying, yeah, you know what? We're going to pit as well so that we don't get caught out on track with tires that fall off the cliff. So now that Ferrari's moved, they actually ended up here with their 10 maximum movement points that they could do. Now, there is a special rule where if you need to get into pit lane, you can use ERS or tire wear to extend. It's the only situation where you can use tire wear outside of a corner. But I guess, it is kind of turning in. And in this case, they have a lot of tire wear and they don't care because they're about to change their tires. So they're going to do that. It's going to cause their tires to go off the cliff, but it doesn't matter because the turn is over. That gets them into the pit lane. But the problem is they now have to roll the white die to see if they violated the pit speed limit. So they got to roll this die. If they get this result here, that means they're going to get a penalty. And they got lucky. No penalty for them, so they're good. They got into their pit stall. So now this is going to be a battle between them to get out of the pits next round. Now we move on to our turn, and for us, I think we're going to try to maximize this opportunity because our tires are still really good. We still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wear points, and if you look here, we've only used 2 in 1 whole lap. So like I mentioned at the beginning of the game, Williams is really easy on the tires just because the car's not that quick and you kind of drive it differently. So I'm going to try to get through here with the maximum amount of points. Now we are in an 8th gear tile. I don't really want to exceed the limit, but I may do it just since our ERS is full, just to get us the maximum amount of points into the next corner. So let's have a look. All right, so I made the decision. We're going to full deploy here. And that's going to give us 8 points. Got to spend our ERS plus the 4 from our tires. So that is a total of 12 points. So that's going to take us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, which is a huge run down the front straightaway. Originally looking at this move, I thought I was going to use a blue, but looking at it further, it's going to be probably better to take a red. And here's why. I'm going to show you this is going to be a little bit of a strategic move here. So if I play a red, we're going to get 3 less points than if we play blue. So we're going to end up with 5 instead of 8. So calculate that with our plus 4, that's going to be 9, but we do get plus 1 for playing a single red card. So that means that we're going to end up with a total of 9, 10. Now, the cool part with red compared to blue is that we do get to change lanes, even though it does cost us a tire wear, but you know, we have some to spare. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's our 10 movement points. Now, I don't want to go any further than that because if McLaren catches us, they have a DRS zone anyways. But what that's going to do is, since we know we have a clear track ahead of us, we're going to be able to set ourselves up to play blue next turn and potentially end up in a 8th gear tile. Now, it's going to be risky because we're going to be going through a green section, but we'll see if we can make something work out because we have no choice. We have to capitalize on this. And McLaren is likely to pit next turn because the other two have pitted. So that's it for round 10. This has been a pretty exciting race so far. I think that we are in an okay position, but I'm just not sure if staying out this lap was a good idea. But I guess we're going to have to see. All the other teams will have pitted, assuming McLaren does indeed pit next turn, which I think they will. But these two guys certainly have. We'll have basically 1 turn, 2 turns to try to get away as much as possible and hope that they don't catch us on the run through the next lap, because we're likely to pit at the end of the next lap. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode. If you liked it, please hit that like button. And leave me a comment. Let me know if you're enjoying it, if you spot any mistakes that I did, because I will then correct those at the beginning of the next game, whatever way I have to. And also, if you're enjoying this playthrough, please subscribe so that you know when the next one comes out. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.